Yes, we do.
Well, I thought you were talking about like maybe people who may just be traveling or going to visit. But you're talking about as far as the military that's going into these different countries.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. See, we send our children over to these countries to help kill other peoples and help tear up their lands. And there's no, and this is what I mean, there's no excuse for it. Everybody loves Muhammad Ali. The world over loves Muhammad Ali, not for his boxing skills, because the stance he took on Vietnam. People, when Muhammad Ali comes out, look at the people. It's like it's a Michael Jackson crowd, because he stood up and said no. Another guy, around the same time, Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr., everybody knows his stance on the Vietnam War. That's maybe what got him killed. But he was like, we can't. What do we look like? We over here getting dogged out by a country, then we gonna go over there and fight for them. What do we look like?
And then get over there and see that a lot of the people over there look just like them.
Right. Do you know that? Do you know that when the Americans went over to the Filipino War? When they went over to the Filipino War, guess what the soldiers called the Filipinos?
Oh, they called them Negroes.
They called them niggers.
Yeah, because it's something that you mentioned that because the right to this day, as we speak, there's a large area in the Filipinos. It's called Negro land, and all of that area is comprised of the Ati people, and they're also referred to as Moros. And every year they have a festival called the Ano de Yang, where the modern-day Euro-Filipinos, but the modern-day people that people would deem to be like who are the Philippines, those are just the people that had came in from like Malaysia, and they're like mixed with the Aboriginal Moors of that area with the albino Europeans. And every year at this festival, they paint themselves with blackface. They put on curly afro wigs, and they put on all of the feathers and the indigenous Aboriginal garb, just like how you would have at a festival in Brazil. And they dance and have these big festivities, and it's all in honor of the Aboriginal peoples of the Philippines.
Right.
So it's something that you mentioned that because with looking at that, right around the time during that Spanish-American War, when that agreement was going on where the Philippines was actually pretty much being acquisitioned or being part of like a U.S. territory, you had down in Puerto Rico, of what is known as Boricua, that the people there in Puerto Rico were denationalized by the stroke of the pen, where it's actually coded right in the United States codes, where if there were people that were born prior to, like, I think, like the late 1800s, then they were to be like nationals of the land. But if they were born after a certain period, then they weren't considered to be nationals of that island.
Right.
And so that's like working in alignment with the 14th Amendment coming forth with deeming and denationalizing, people. So it's something that you mentioned that with the Philippines, because especially when you go and you look at the Aboriginal peoples there, especially those children, you would think that, those are some children that you see, and down on in the Weston and Atlanta area, or up in Jamaica Ave in Queens, or over on Stony Island in the Chicago area. So it's like, wait a minute, it's like those are our people there. And so it's something that you brought that up. It's something, yes. So, but then again, this goes back to the whole, everything is going back to the root of, and knowing exactly what the truth is and who you are as a people, because when you know who you are, you just won't engage in certain things. You just operate in a whole different mode. So, and I think, it's probably happening now. I think people are starting to wake up a little bit more, because wasn't it a situation where it got to the point where wasn't there like some gangbangers or something that was recruited to go over there to fight in Afghanistan, and they couldn't do nothing with them, and some of the guys over there was just spray painting and putting graffiti all over the Humvees and stuff like that. So, but go ahead.
No, I hadn't heard of that. I just know that we are in the military major. We are in the military major, and these people that come and these people that are over here, they remember what we do. They remember what we do. They remember what we do, and we don't. And I think we don't pay attention too much. Earlier, you were talking about the spiritual aspect of what we do. We send our sons and daughters over to these countries to fight and kill other people and tear up their lands and take over their natural resources. Our actions over there have a resounding boomerang effect back here.
Yeah.
See,
I think it's important. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You can't go over to other people and destroy their lands and don't expect that your actions are not going to find you back at home. And that's a big component that's overlooked in our community. What do we look like we're over here oppressed at home? What do we look like to other nations when they see what we're going to do? They're in our neighborhoods. They have infiltrated our neighborhoods very well. How are we going over there tearing up their homes and thinking they're going to show us some kind of love back here? As parents that send our children to these militaries, are we not thinking about that? Is that thought even in our decisions that we can't go because we wouldn't want nobody to come over there and do that to us?
Right.
So as a group of people, what are we doing? What are we doing? And I'm not saying it for. I'm talking about really. We really, some really positive black thinkers. We need them. How are we going to solve these problems in our communities?
Well, I think that one of the things, and going back to the whole thing with knowledge itself, there are a lot of people, and I do want to give a couple of plugs right now in regards to Truly Love and Well Farms, Muhammad Farms, Life Essentials, and the People's Grocery Store. These are entities that have existed for 5+ years, in some cases 10+ years, that serve as a resource for food.
Okay, now check this out.
Now, this is just a little what I'm speaking of. That's within the the Southeast area, and then, the People's Grocery Store. They're based on the west side. And then also to, what is that large store that it actually is almost better than Whole Foods? It's owned by a brother and sister, a married couple, over there in the, it's not too far from Culver City. It's in the county. You know what I'm talking about. Her name is April, because I remember a brother I know, and I have business there. You know what I'm talking about. Simply, yes. So let's not just say that it's a bleak picture, but I just have to say that, and I'm going back to highlight the people that are there that are doing things, because I'm going to tell you, the people who consider themselves to be Negro, Black, and colored are so far up out of the loop with a lot of things that I don't know if it is our duty to spend so much time, especially if you get to a situation where you try to bring people the truth and they reject it.
Right.
So going back to the old adage, if the sick don't care, the doctor don't care. So if the people haven't taken upon themselves in this information age to connect, to know what the deal is and what the truth is and what they need to do for themselves, and if they want to stray and follow the idol gods and the materialism of Rome and get caught up in their illusions of the lap of luxury, then, hey, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. And I'm not trying to say that I'm not trying to be like so cold about the situation, but it's just reality here. It's reality. because we are in an information age right now, and it's a situation right now where people don't actually have to go to the library. They don't have to be online. There is so much energy on the planet right now that if people are truthfully being connected with nature, there's information that's fallen up out of the Akashic record into people's brains. But if they're disillusioned and disassociated, then they would never be able to connect in divinely like that. So unfortunately, most of the people who consider themselves to be black and Negro and stuff like that, they are truthfully disconnected. It's sad to say, but it is.
You're absolutely right. But I think as for what you're doing, those and your listeners who are coming into the consciousness and seeing how they can better prepare themselves, especially in the cities. Note these in the last few months you've had shootings at schools and all of these things happening. They're preparing for something. And I think one of the things that we can do, because these cities are done. Mm-hmm. These cities are finished, and I think one of the things that we can do is connecting ourselves back to the land, especially people who are in the cities, get back on this land in the South. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Get back on this land in the South. You can cut your monthly expenses just on the rent and mortgage alone. Find a house that you don't mind fixing up. The money that you putting into what you paying for rent and mortgage, put into your own thing. Get rid of that overhead. That overhead of rent and mortgage. You got to stop playing. They got to start working for ourselves.
Right.
Building for ourselves. Just like you talked about Simply Wholesome. I have a friend of mine. She just put some stuff on Simply Wholesome's shelves today. And that's what we need to do. We need to have our stores where the products that are on the shelves are that what we make. Mm-hmm. The store you're talking about, down in where you are. I mean, that should be a national chain.
Oh, you know about Life Essentials.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I mean, yeah, you have. I mean, we should. This should be at the forefront of our mind. Not going to the army, not going to build their other people's empires. Start building our own.
On that note, for everybody that's on the line, if y'all want to share who the local farmers are in your area, the brothers and sisters that have their own health food stores, grocery stores, good restaurants, feel free to come on air and give them a plug so people can know exactly who are the people that look like them that produce food for the community. That is essential. But and you could just press 1, and if you're in the chat room, you could just come in on 858-357-8450. Again, it's 858-357-8450. Yes, but yeah, you're right. Because over there at the Simply, I want to say that right, Simply Wholesome, they actually have a little cafe, restaurant. With their little nice good veggie patties and stuff. So yeah, they got it set up very good up there. They got it going on.
Yeah, they in California they have a couple of stores out there that that brothers and sisters are providing some excellent food, nutritious for the community. So that is going on, and I'm sure that's probably going on in every city. But what I've noticed a lot of times is those stores will shut down because of economics. Mm-hmm. Those stores are shut down because they're no longer supported. That's why I think it'll be in our best interest if we had stores that the products on the shelves are something that we create. I think that'll be beneficial to us because that would alleviate a lot of the problems that we have in the community now. Because the problem with the children is they don't have anything to do.
Mhm. Yes, I see what you're saying with that.
We haven't built anything for them to do. When the civil rights movement was about us getting in their jobs. The civil rights movement was about us being able to live next to them. The civil rights movement was about we can get a pension, we can work for them for 30 years and get a pension and just live the rest of our life, not building anything for ourselves. We have left our children.
So do you think that So would you say that the civil rights movement, in a sense, was a dismantling of the self-sufficiency